Hey, it's Mazzy. Welcome back. One last record store day video of the season until next season, until Black Friday, I guess. This is something I wanted to do once I started listening and finishing all the records. Now, these are my top 15 favorite, most enjoyable listens on Record Store Day, excluding jazz records. I did so many jazz videos that I got early on. These are mostly rock, soul, psychedelic, those related areas. And I'm going to rate them from 15 to number one, 15 of them actually. A couple things of business. Heather Gray, it's the Music Stupid t-shirt. Link below, you can order it here and in the UK. Heather Gray is my favorite color of this particular shirt. Yes, you can get it in black. I like black, but for some reason, the Heather Gray is a little more, you could wear it out at night for a cocktail party. And I do want to thank everyone who watched, all the people that watched the video. Record Store Day was a blast. I had new friends, old friends, met people. Only went to 2 stores, but it was a long day. And I do want to thank Marcia, Marshmallow Pie 1012, for giving me this. I got a lot of comments between Instagram, my Instagram, Mazzy's Music, and the channel where when she came walking towards me and opened the bag, and I said, "Oh my God, this is creepy." I didn't mean the image is creepy. Of course, when you see a caricature of yourself, you think, do I really look like that? But that's what a caricature is all about. It emphasizes, it's a caricature. That's why it's called that. And I love this. Get the Space Needle. He got my comments, no more picture discs. I'm surprised you didn't write no more box sets and put a Golden Gate Bridge on the other side. But this was so sweet. And me yelling out, "It's creepy, that's creepy." At 5 in the morning, someone pulling out a bag of a picture, they've been in waiting for you to show you. But thank you so much. I met her and her brother. They came up. We talked about 10 minutes until we were interrupted by the guy sitting next to me. But that was fun. So thank you, Marcia. I really appreciate that. And before I get into the top 15, I want to show 2 others that are not included in my top 15. Not that they're not good, but I just didn't feel they should be included in those best 15. Again, not because they're not good. The Lee Scratch Perry and the Upsetters dub record. This is fun. I played this for this birthday party we had for the Archivist the other night. It was going on in the background. And it was just a really good vibe to it. But it's dub music, and not to take away from dub, but I just thought it didn't fit with this. And the other one, as much as I love this, and I do, the Mind Games EP that were sent to me by the London Estate, I love this. This sounds amazing. Partly because it's an EP, and partly because these songs are going to be on the Expanded Deluxe Edition this summer. So in a way, this is a teaser. This is for people like me, completists who wanted to hear this stuff now, who want an EP. It sounds great, but watch that video. I don't need to really discuss it again. Really great, just didn't include it here for those reasons. So starting with number 15. And I decided to base these on likability, musical enjoyment, just where I felt great listening to these records. Not that they're necessarily the best and one is better than the other, but when you rank, there's a reason for ranking. There's a mood you're in and a mood the music makes. Now remember, there are hundreds of other Record Store Day releases that I didn't get, and I know someone's gonna say, you didn't include or that or this or that, and I didn't. These are the ones for me in my house here that I'm loving the most. And the first one is Psycho Daisies, the Yardbirds. This is a comp of the first collection of UK and US Yardbirds B-sides. Very psychedelically blues leaning, the pop psychedelic leaning of the Yardbirds. Obviously they went in different, had different members throughout their career, of course. From Eric Clapton to Jimmy Page, but this is a fantastic set. Love the sound. It's mono, so it's not like big high fidelity, but it's a fun listen here. And of course, you got kind of right in there. But if you like the Yardbirds and you like the singles, this is a fun way to get all the singles on one comp. I have a lot of this stuff on various compilations and various CD sets, but nice. It's just a fun listen of these kind of really, a lot of good hooks and bluesy stuff. Not fidelity forward or amazing sounding, but just a fun listen. That's number 15. Number 14, Bloke on Bloke. This is an EP. The only reason this is so low is because it's an EP, and I kind of wanted it to be more. I want the actual album of the William Bloke sessions. I want the William Bloke album to be reissued. I don't know if Cooking Vinyl is able to do that. I hope they do, because it goes for a lot of money. It's one of the few vinyl records I don't have. I have a CD of it, but I don't have a vinyl version of it. But this is a wonderful EP. These are B-side singles and B-sides from the William Bloke sessions, and it's fantastic. It has one sort of dub mix on here too, of Sugar Dubby. I did do a separate video teaser on this, one of my earlier videos. This is from Cooking Vinyl, and this is fabulous, number 14 on my list of the record store day. And again, lower only because it's an EP and I wanted more. But that's what this is about, so it fits the concept. Number 13, Electrofixation, and this is the album Burn from 1995, I believe. I did not know of this record, and I passed on this record initially, and Kimbo, if you watched that video in line, he got this and was telling me about it. I remember vaguely hearing about this, but for some reason I totally missed this band. This is sort of an offshoot project of Echo and the Bunnymen, with two members of Echo and the Bunnymen, including Ian McCulloch, Will Sargent. It's a fuzz. It sounds like Echo, definitely. I mean, when you have Ian McCulloch doing the vocals, this is that in-between period when they kind of on hiatus or split up, but obviously they came back later. This is fantastic. It starts out a little more heavier than the initial Echo sound, but then it kind of eases it in. It's very the same. If you're a fan of Echo and the Bunnymen, this is fantastic. And it's number 13 on my list, and the sound is great. It's just a blaster. I turned all these records up. I listened to them all twice since Saturday. I've been listening to a lot of music just for like 48, 50 hours straight. And this is one of them too. This is Captain Beefheart's 1972 album, The Spotlight Kid. This is issued by Rhino Records. This is curated by Jason Jones at Rhino. We had a discussion last year on Little Feat stuff. I'm a huge Little Feat fan. This is really good. This is probably one of Captain Beefheart's most accessible records. So, you know, if you can't stand Trout Mask Replica, it's too wild for you. This is more bluesy. This is a great sounding record. He was trying to get a little more commercial for him, but it's great. It sounds like Howlin' Wolf, basically, with marimbas added, the wooden mallets, the wooden plates, and it's really good. It has an extra disc, which I love, of outtakes. And a couple of these songs, I think half of them were on that Bat Chain Polar box set called Sun Zoom Spark 1970-72. So if you have that, you have some of the outtakes, but some of them are not on there. There's a couple instrumentals which are fabulous. There's You Brought Me to Life, semi-multicolored, and The Witch Doctor Life, all instrumentals, and then full-length versions of the other. This sounds really good, and I like, you hear Don Van Vliet, that's Captain Beefheart, speak his little intros when he's counted out, and just a little bit of banter, but not much. Really well pressed, well done. I don't know why there were paper sleeves. I'm not one of those people that really cares, but come on. Rhino, you know better, so I slipped my own in here. I just say that because people want to know this stuff. They ask. Ask and ye shall receive. But this is really good. 12. Number 11 is The Dream Syndicate. The Dream Syndicate, Sketches for the Days of Wine and Roses. I'm going to put a little asterisk here because this is the album this is based on. I friggin' love this album from 1982. I saw them at this period at the Warfield Theater in San Francisco. They're a post-punk, psychedelic, very influenced by the Velvet Underground. Long jams, long songs in some ways. Led by Steve Wynn with Carl Procota, Kendra Smith, and Dennis Duck. The band has reformed in the last 6 years, put out 3 or 4 fabulous records. If you get a chance to see them, go see them. But I do that because I would say get this before you get the Record Store Day one, and I'll tell you why. This is lo-fi. These are sketches of the songs, many of the songs that would be on the debut album there. Lo-fi, it reminds me of the Velvet Underground's Matrix live record in San Francisco in 1970, I think that was 69 or 70. Because it's lo-fi, it's garage rock, elongated, but it's really that got that lo-fi sound. So if you're an audiophile and you have your Macintosh gear lit up and you have those big giant friggin' over-the-top Wilson or JBL massive cabinet speakers or voice of the theater things, and you like that audiophile Steely Dan perfection, this ain't for you, baby. But this is so good. I put it on, I thought, oh, it's one of those lo-fi things. But I played this twice back to back and I friggin' loved it. Again, get this one first, but if you're a fan of this record, this is a cool ass record. Again, if you like that Velvet Underground, kind of screechy, noisy, sometimes out of tune, fabulous listen, but be warned. That's my take on that. Next, coming at number 10, is Super Furry Animals, and this is Fuzzy Logic, B-sides and B-sides. I've had this on CD. I'm all in on this great band from Wales, Welsh band, who's either on hiatus or split up. Griff Rhys has done a bunch, the lead singer of a lot of solo albums. Das Cooley is an offshoot of the band without Griff, doing more of electronic direction. They do electronic, power pop, pop, rock in that British sense. They're fantastic. I love this. And this is a cool record. And to me, I had forgotten, when I got this, I didn't really look at the track list, but I do have it on CD. And I have the CD EP that has the opening track, which is so friggin' good. And that is The Man Don't Give a Fuck. And basically what it is this repetitive sampling of Steely Dan's Hollywood Kids. And if you know the line that I just said, that's in there. The repetitive thing, and it goes into a refrain with Griffith's voice that kind of takes back and is kind of surreal. This is a fantastic, all the singles combined, the B-sides on this one record. This is put out by BMG in the States. Really a fantastic with a lovely colored vinyl. Highly recommend Super Furry Animals. And for that track alone, I remember getting that CD and I was bummed it wasn't on an album until they put this singles out that I got on compact disc, because I do have the, I guess it's an import CD EP with Don't Give a Fuck. Okay, warning, if I should have warned you before that I would say the F word on here. Coming at number 9, I think, if I'm in the right order, Lowell George's Thanks, I'll Eat Here. I'll Eat It Here. Thanks, I'll Eat It Here. This is his solo album from 1979. The only solo album on the tour promoting this album is when he died, unfortunately. This is a great album. Now, yes, you can find this fairly cheap in used bins because it wasn't a big hit. Buy it then. Buy that if you don't want to go for the Record Store Day. This is expanded. He was obviously the leader, musical director, slide guitarist, vocalist for Little Feat. Wrote most of those great songs. I'm a big, big Little Feat. I think another cover art by Neon Parks, I believe, who did most of their records. This sounds great. This is a soulful, sort of a southern soulful record. He was in the Mothers of Invention for a moment before starting Little Feat in, 1970, I believe. That was the first album. Again, I'm all in a Little Feat. But there's a soulness to this, a southern soul, a New Orleans type soul, funky, but he's got this beautiful funky voice. There's some horns on it. On the live album, Waiting for Columbus, you got the Tower of Power horns on that just add something to it. But this is great. There's songs from Alan Toussaint. The Outtake album has a version he does of Doctor My Eyes, the Jackson Browne song, which is great, and a couple of outtakes of some of the other Alan Toussaint. There's a definitely feel of Alan Toussaint. Easy Money, What Do You Want the Girl to Do? I have versions of that, I believe, by both Boz Scaggs and Alan Toussaint, and it's such a great version. This also is curated by Jason Jones. I bought this record, And this is one I was anticipating and waiting for since I had a conversation last year with Jason Jones kind of hinting at this. And I'm so glad they put this out. This is a killer record. And the mastering is great. It sounds good. Really well pressed. Coming in at number 8, the debut album by Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros. How did I miss this album? Of course, I have the final album. I know there was a box set that came out last year that has all the albums in it. He's been signed, or his estate signed, to Dark Horse Records. That's been doing a pretty nice reissue job. But this is the first record, and it's double record, and the sound is fantastic. This is Joe Strummer, obviously, from The Clash. This is gatefold record, well pressed, well printed, beautiful baby pink, and that wonderful, I always loved the Dark Horse record George Harrison had. Remember, he started Dark Horse on A&M Records, switched to Warner Brothers Records, but he's putting out, Danny Harrison, who's running it, has been putting out some cool legacy acts through BMG. Cat Stevens, Joe Strummer, Ravi Shankar, obviously, the things they recorded, a few other artists too. It was great stuff. But Joe Strummer, really, really a wonderful record. The debut, Rock Art and the X-Ray Style. Billy Idol too, I think they have as well. So this is highly recommended. I showed this previously, but this is amongst my favorite listen. We played this at the party and everyone kind of were asking who the different artists were. This is the only comp I think I included. This is a tribute album to Lou Reed. Light in the Attic put this out. This is a killer comp of the great songs of Lou Reed. As I said in that last video, the opening track of I'm Waiting for the Man, Keith Richard, again, it's the perfect vocal for Keith Richard. It's in that low register. He's not straining like sometimes he does. I just love this. You got a wonderful version of Perfect Day by Rufus Wainwright. Again, watch that video. You got Joan Jett, Ricky Lee Jones, Afghan Wigs, Lucinda Williams, and others. Rosanna Cash, that was the big surprise to me. That closes out with Magician. Not a country version, and it's really good. I'd like to see her do a whole album of that sound, because it's really of a modern sound for her, unusual for her, and I'm a fan of Rosanna Cash. Obviously, the daughter of Johnny Cash. This comes out with kind of a smoky, somebody comes up with the names of these colors. I don't have the hype sticker here anymore, but I love all this. But of course, this has a lovely book with essays in it too, which I showcased earlier. So check that video if you want to know much more on it. Coming in at number 6, this is a record I never heard. This is the first Parliament record. Parliament obviously became Parliament Funkadelic, a long storied thing. They started out as the Parliaments, as a doo-wop group initially. And when I was playing this, I kept thinking of how there's this parallel thing with Parliament Funkadelic and the early mothers of invention. Frank Zappa's so into doo-wops. They did that Reuben and the Jets album. This is obviously not a doo-wop record, but this is the expanded Legendary Funk's 1970 debut album called Osmium, and it has additional bonus tracks, 5 bonus tracks, and some non-album B-sides and A-side single thing. This is great. This is all over the place. This is not your tear the mother off the roof type of thing, or even Maggot Brain. There's like gospel, there's soul music, there's funk on here. There's a little bit of psychedelia, a little bit. There's some augmented instruments. There's even pedal steel guitar on a track on here. There's one track on here, Oh Lord, Why Lord Prayer, this gospel song, that basically, you listen to it and you tell me it's the music is Pachelbel's Canon in D, that classical piece that everyone's heard, and everyone seems to have walked down the aisle since the 1970s to that song. Not everybody, but a lot of people. It's just a great mix, potpourri of funkiness. And again, it's not any one genre. It's really mixed up, but it really set a tone for what Parliament Funkadelic would be. And I've never heard this album before. So a lovely shade of green there. Kind of a bluish, little blue in it, but love this record, highly recommend it. Coming at number 5, another record I showed is Sister Rosetta Tharpe. I mean, a pioneer in gospel, soul, rock and roll. Up there on the pulpit, on the stage with that electric guitar. Oh God, this is the real deal. She is such a cool artist. And this double live album from 1966, I believe in France. I mean, how can you not love this? This was put out by Zev Feldman, and this is on Elemental Records, and it's just one of the greatest things. It's not a jazz record. That's why I included it here again, even though I showed it before. I mean, come on. How friggin' cool is that? Sister Rosetta Tharpe, a great, great record. Coming in number 5 on my best of record store day releases, non-jazz releases. Coming in at number 4, Gene Clark. Of course, the original member of the Byrds, the one that actually started writing first after they were doing, Mr. Tambourine Man on the first album. He was the one writing, so he's the one that got the publishing. A lot of people in the band, Roger McGuinn, David Crosby, etc., Chris Hill, a little jealous of that, but he wrote the songs. That's why. Write the songs, keep your publishing. Most of this is on the box set that came out from 4AD. This is put out by 4AD, but I like it together here. I can't remember if that's on vinyl, that portion, or on the Blu-ray or the audio disc, but I wanted this separate with this beautiful metallic cover. This is a 2-record set. This has literally the versions, a lot of versions that are on the final album, but stripped back. Some of the XS are stripped back and they're alternate kind of versions. There's version 2 of various tracks. Very expensive record to produce. David Geffen was upset, didn't promote the record. It didn't find an audience initially because it was very unusual for the time. He dressed in his sort of glam look at the time with makeup, and watch that first album. Look at that first. Get this album. Get the original First of No Other. And then if that's one of your favorite albums, this is incredible. 2-record set. Again, all these out. This is just your standard beautiful black vinyl, which is wonderful. Just great versions of these songs. I love this album, the original album. Anything Gene Clark. I didn't get the other Gene Clark album because I already have a version of that. There was a different Record Store Day issue that came out. Coming in at number 3, and one of my favorite listens of this whole weekend, just, blast. We had great weather here. I turned it up, opened the windows, and played this straight through a couple times as well. And this is Chris Isaak. This is Memphis. This is Beyond the Sun, the complete collection. Now, he did several sessions over time. Most of this recorded at Sun Studios in Memphis. Back in 1984, drove across country with Jashid Brooks, who moved to New York, and we went and toured Sun Studios. So we got a tour, tiny place, all these great records. He is so influenced. Read the liner notes on this. The liner notes really get heavy into his love and how he got into this music. And if you only know Chris Isaak from the big hit, Him on the Beach with the Beautiful Model from the David Lynch film, you don't know Chris Isaak. Obviously, his DNA is Elvis and Carl Perkins and Roy Orbison. I mean, he's got the voice that can do Roy Orbison. He's got the voice that doesn't mimic those people. He's the real deal. He's got a little bit of a rockabilly sense, but has expanded in different ways. So him to do these songs, mostly covers, some originals on here. Again, he'll do covers like Ring of Fire, Johnny Cash. Of course, that's written by Carter. June Carter wrote that song. Great Balls of Fire. You got It's Now or Never. He makes these records. They're very faithful to the originals, but he and his band make them his. He's got a great friggin' band that has his sound. Oh Pretty Woman, of course, the song by Roy Orbison. He played with Roy Orbison on the Black and White live thing. I just love him. I loved him from the first few days, first few shows I saw him playing at a club, a bar actually, with a stage. They were kind of the house band. The band he had was called Silvertone. His first album was called Silvertone. They dropped the band name and it became Chris Isaak. That was called the Night Break, that bar club on the exact same block, the middle of the block where Amoeba is on Haight Street in San Francisco. And I probably saw them there, 10 times over the years, and of course followed him over the years. But this is a fantastic sounding record. Again, wonderful notes about the music, his love for this music. Beyond the Sun, the complete Chris Isaak. A lot of stuff to read on this. Beautiful red. He is on the Sun label, which makes it even better. But this is highly recommended. If you like this music, if you want, a modern update, but not a parody. This ain't no parody of Elvis Presley and Roy Orbison's song. This has a whole feel. Even his original songs on here fit in with the standards, the covers. Love this record, and this is number 3 on my favorite list of Record Store Day releases. Coming in number 2 is Gandalf. I've been hearing about how rare this record is for years. I've never listened to this record before, but I put it on my list because of all the hype. This is put out by Jackpot Records out of Portland, Oregon. Cut by Kevin Gray. This sounds really good. This was nothing like I expected. I did not preview. I decided I'm just going for it. And I love this record. 1969, eventually comes out in 1969 on Capitol Records. And by the time the record finally came out, there was this whole story about it was recorded for another label or a sub-label or a related label. And then the band splits up and Capitol puts out the record, which is really unfortunate. Influenced by a lot of the psychedelic and folk bands of Vanilla Fudge, bands of the time, Lothar and the Hand People, all those. I mean, this was the time of that. But I expected to be one of those psychedelic albums that probably really isn't that good, but this is good. A lot of folk influences, got the Baroque sound. The main vocals are, little bit in the vein of the Zombies. So basically, good vocals, not shit-ass guys singing, opening up a garage psychedelic band. This ain't that. And when I put this on, I didn't sit in a sweet spot to begin with, but I came back on the second listening and listened to it straight through. I put it on doing stuff around the room here, and I realized I know half these songs. A lot of these are covered. There's 3 songs of Tim Hardin, the folk writer, the folk singer Tim Hardin, who wrote If I Was a Carpenter and Reason to Believe. Those songs are not on here, but 3 of the songs are. The other song, all of a sudden I stopped in my tracks and sat down to listen, was this beautiful rendition of Scarlet Ribbons. I know that song that is a great song that I think I first heard by Harry Belafonte. And of course, on one of the later albums, there's a wonderful version by Sinead O'Connor who covers that as well. And then of course, the song Nature Boy, Nat King Cole made famous, covered by other people too. I think Julie London maybe even did that song. So to hear this band do these songs that I've known for 50 years, what made it even more interesting. There's a spaciness to it. It's a little space rock, but the melodies are really there. A lot of psychedelic bands really don't have the melodies, the hooks, that flavor, and Gandalf has it. Now, this I think is a Record Store Day first, and it's been selling out, or it's sold out. So I think it's gonna come out, who knows when, in the next, hopefully within a year or less from Jackpot. It probably won't be a colored version there, but who gives a whatever. Now, my only disappointment, first of all, it sounds great. This green on the Capitol label, it's great they used the Capitol with the Jackpot little insignia in there. I think it should have been sort of a yellowish tint more for me. I know they picked up that little green there. I can see what that is. But I think this yellow there would have been nicer. But that's, or black. So wait for the black one. Liner notes about it. There's the band. Number 2, because I was bowled away by this. I expected to be kind of one of those, you hear about this psychedelic thing that's in like the Acid Archives, and it turned out to be a real disappointment. Really melodic, spacey melodic. Highly recommended. Gandalf. And number 1 is the Byrds. Not really the Byrds, but this is the 50th anniversary live show of Sweetheart of the Rodeo, that 1968 album that had a 50th anniversary. It's an album that bombed when it came out. It's the Byrds when they went all in on the country with Graham Parsons, and Clarence White plays on that, doing Louvin Brothers songs and some Graham Parsons songs and Merle Haggard songs and a Dylan song. Obviously, I'm all in on the Byrds. I did not see this show. I was so bummed in 2018. They didn't come up to Seattle, and if I had known ahead of time, I would have gone to the Bay Area to see them. I think they played a winery there. They played a bunch of cities, and I've spoken to people that love this show. Now, a couple things about this. First of all, this is on Friday Music, and I have a bone to pick with you, Friday Music. I'll tell you in a minute here. If anyone saw my Mazzy's Music Instagram post about this, you'll know what I'm talking about. Roger McGuinn and Chris Hillman, two of the original members of the Byrds, the remaining living Byrds, and they're backed by Marty Stewart and his fabulous superlatives. I saw them earlier this year. I've seen them 3 times live. They're one of the most kick-ass country, cosmic psychedelic country bands you'll ever hear. Marty Stewart, great guitar player. I think he played, what was it, Scruggs or Flat? I think it was Earl Scruggs' band when he was like 16 or 17. He has Clarence White's Telecaster. Clarence White from the Byrd, who co-invented the B-bender on the guitar. He bought it from the estate after Clarence died and plays it. You got this great band of his on here. You got Kenny Vaughan on the guitars and Chris Scruggs on vocals, electric bass. This is a killer sounding record. What they do is they start out doing, 4, 5 Byrd songs around this period of sort of semi-country rock, but then they play the entire album of Sweetheart of the Rodeo, and then they end with Byrd songs like You Want to Be a Rock and Roll Star, I Feel a Whole Lot Better, the song that made the money for Gene Clark on the first Byrds album, 8 Miles High and Turn, Turn, Turn. It sounds great. The band is great. You know, I've always loved Roger McGuinn's vocals on the early Byrds. He's good. He's getting a little old, but it still sounds great. Chris Hillman is great on this. Marty Stewart also sings some leads. So this is a killer sounding record. Okay, now, the bad part of this. Okay, paper sleeves, so what? Okay, I could live with that. Yellow, well pressed, well sounding. Problem is, this is the most expensive record that I got for what it is. Overpriced by $30. That is a gouge fest. So I'm talking to you, Friday Music. That's a fucked up price for this. That's gouging. I'm not one that complains about record store day prices usually, because I understand. This was $78. I've heard it's been higher in some places. I heard someone get it for $69, but I think the list price for this record store day was $78 or so. For a 2-record set with no booklet, no polyline sleeves, that's excessive. All the other records I got that were 2-record sets, I think the most expensive one was like $48 for a 2-record set, which is not cheap either, by the way. But but I had to get this. I bit the bullet. I figured I didn't go to the show. I would have paid that for a ticket or more probably. And so I'm at peace with my thing, and it became my number 1 pick, my number 1 most enjoyed record. The only other criticism I have, which I kind of understand, there's very short banter introductions between Roger McGuinn and Chris Hillman. And it's great for the uninitiated, and it's probably great when you see them live. They do this banter about some of the songs, and you can tell it's scripted. And I think I got a couple comments again on Instagram from people who saw 2 or 3 shows on this tour, said, yeah, that's the scripted part. So it almost sounds a little too rehearsed and still off the cuff. Now we're going to do the Graham Parsons songs he brought to. But I guess for the nature of this 50th anniversary, I'll let that go and you have it here. It's not excess stories that go on for 2 or 3 minutes on pontificating about this time, but you can tell it's slightly a rehearsed thing, the banter they have here. But I'll let that go too. But the price, obscene, really. Friday Music, explain that. Maybe you got all these people you have to feed and give royalties to, but come on, that's bullshit, really. But this is a freaking great. It's the music, stupid, right? It's not about, it's overpriced, stupid, but it is. Those are my top 15 records, Records Per Day, non-jazz records. Thanks for watching. I'm sure there are others that I don't have, I missed, that you might like even more, but for my taste in my room, I love all the music on these. Thanks for watching. Mazzy loves you. Heather Gray, down, push the button, order one.